Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Week 9 Picks Show. Davis, Mattek, and Rich Hribar with you. We pick our 5 favorite games against the spread. Very simple program. Our number 1 picks came through in flying colors last week, as you would expect. The number 1 picks. We're having a great year. Can't wait. Let's pick some games. It's Short King Summer, dude. It just feels like no one in fantasy sports ever learns anything. Does he mistime it, or is Brock Bowers just a grown man? Brock Bowers is just a grown man. Dare I say, Rich, football might be back. In the words of Lane Johnson, this offense looks constipated. It's Short King Summer. Aaron Rodgers, man. He's back. The Jets are now plus 300 to make the playoffs in the AFC, man. They're back. They're back.
Just live the life, man. That like Jets fans just get sucked in this perpetual like vacuum of hope to just get like the rug pulled out of them every so often. Yeah. Hey, it was fun to see them win and have some success. So we just don't, because I'm just so tired of hearing like all of the same like regurgitated Aaron Rodgers stuff after every loss. It's just fine. Like let them win so we just have to hear it.
Yeah, I hate it. I honestly, like, I hate every part of it. I hate when Aaron Rodgers wins. I hate when Aaron Rodgers loses because it dominates the airwaves. I hate that they traded for Devontae Adams. I hate that Garrett Wilson is on this team. I hate that Breece Hall is attached to this team. You know, just all, and I mean, it is actually classic East Coast bias, like having to hear this much about the Jets. Like it is because there are a lot of Jets fans in media, you know, and someone was making this point on Twitter last night. I couldn't remember who. Honestly, it is a real bummer that Rodgers is kind of going out this way because peak Rodgers, like 2010 Rodgers, I mean, has there ever been anyone better? I don't know. Like true peak Rodgers. Better than Pat, even to me, and you know that takes a lot for me to say. It's like an unbelievable player.
Yeah, I mean Rodgers is going to easily walk into the Hall of Fame. It's just a bummer. I think just his vibes as a person, right? Like he's just not a fun dude, and I think that's just the biggest problem, right? He's just not fun. He's like not a fun human, and that's kind of what it comes back to.
But he did kind of used to be fun, you know. He was kind of funny. Like he was kind of a jerk, but kind of in an endearing way.
And usually when people start doing drugs, they get cool. And like Rodgers has gone the exact opposite. He started doing drugs and got less cool.
Yeah, that is very bizarre. Yeah, normally when you get into like a little bit like just, you know, a little bit of psychedelics, a little bit of pot, you become kind of looser. And instead Rodgers 2019 MVP Rodgers was one of the least fun MVPs of all time. Was just that was totally joyless. There's nothing that, you know what, that's what it is. It's that I find no joy anymore from Aaron Rodgers, either from watching him play or listening to him speak. It's joyless. It's the darkness that he's so fond of talking about.
Well, let's get off the Jets here, man. I want to talk about Jets. They played on Thursday for a reason, and if you enjoy the Jets and the Giants, I think we have 3 more straight island games of them. I think next week we get Panthers, Giants in Germany. If you want to wake up at 6 a.m. next Sunday and watch that we get that, and then I think
that's really the game. Yeah. That's really the game.
I mean, listen, Germany deserves that game, I guess. Like, right? Like this is what you get.
God.
Do you remember the first year they did Germany games? They've sent the Seahawks there, and it was like, what the hell are you doing, NFL? Like, it's 5 a.m. in Seattle. Like, who's getting up to watch this game to make you watch your favorite team? At least they started sending East Coast teams over there. And I think the Jets play on primetime in week 11, and then maybe the Giants again in week 12. It's just like, this New York, man. You're getting all those teams.
That is some rather dark. That is some rather dark stuff. All right. If you're new to the program, very simple. We pick our 5 favorite games against the spread, descending from our least favorite to our favorite wager against the spread of the week, super contest style. And Reeves, I will allow you to make your first selection. Who do you got?
Yeah, I always like to throw a fun one at the end, maybe, or just like a wild card pick. Last week I had the Eagles as the final. They ended up outright winning Like
Yeah.
not even relatively close in the fourth quarter of that game. It was close until then, and then they pulled ahead. But I'm gonna have the Colts here. Colts plus 5.5.
Wow.
Yeah. Plus 5.5 feels a lot, man. It feels like a lot of points. I show that this should be like 1.5 to 2, especially with Flacco playing. So it just feels high. So I want to take the points. I think the Vikings probably win this game, but I think the Colts are live here. Definitely, especially
So
with Flacco playing.
I definitely think the Colts are live. The question that I would have would be, is Flacco good for the offense for fantasy, good for kind of keeping them on schedule, but are some of his advantages neutered in this spot against the Vikings where Brian Flores is just like a madman? And also Flacco is so immobile, I mean, I don't love the idea of him trying to combat these like zero blitzes and stuff. Now he's got Josh Downs and Michael Pittman Jr. He kind of has a mind meld with Josh Downs on some of the option route things. This one was not on my list. I don't hate it or love it either way. Is Cam Robinson? So that was a really interesting trade, I thought. Basically, the Jaguars being like, "Sure, you can have our left tackle. Why not?" I don't even know what the compensation on that was. I didn't even see. Is he going to play?
He's not very good.
The Vikings? So. Yeah, he's not very good. That is.
I mean, obviously, them losing Darrisaw was a bummer. But listen, I actually think Brian Flores, like, while deserves a lot of credit, like this Vikings defense is like kind of they've given up some spike stuff here.
It happens. So I looked deep into this. I can't remember what show or when I did, but basically what happens with Flores every year, almost every year of his career, is he starts out hot fire. Defenses are so confused. They do not know or offenses are so confused. They don't know what's going on. Then you get about a month of his defenses on tape and quarterbacks are like, oh, actually I can figure this out. And then they start to give the stuff up. I mean, we've seen it several times.
Yeah, I wouldn't have taken this with Anthony Richardson. So they're like, Brian Flores probably would have put Anthony Richardson in a blender, but like he's not going to show Flacco anything that Flacco hasn't seen already. The fun thing about this game too is if you like, because this is on the main slate on FanDuel, which I think it's a fun DFS game as well. I think this looks like a fun over game too. Like there could be point scores game. Is that both these guys will turn the ball over. Because Darnold is taking a ton of sacks and turning the ball over, and like kind of no one's noticed. Like no one's kind of cared. But both these guys
that's what he does, brother.
Yeah. And
Flacco
will turn it over too. I think this game could be pretty fun and have high DFS hopes, especially with Flacco starting. But I think it's too high. I'm just gonna take the points. I like to throw a fun one on the end here. I think the Colts definitely have enough offensive pieces to score points in this game.
All right. Well, I've got the opposite of a fun one. I bet you can guess. You would have known that this one is on there, but I'm taking the Arizona Cardinals minus. I think you can take it at a point. Obviously, I think you can just take the money line against not every week. Although I think history.
I think have you not talked about the Cardinals ever on this show?
Yeah, the week they outright won against the 49ers, I didn't have them. The week they outright won as 7-point road dogs against the 49ers. So, I mean, basically, I would love for Caleb Williams to be the guy that I thought he was as a prospect. He's just not there yet. There's a lot feeding into that. I'm definitely not blaming it all on him. That is the big thing, is I think Shane Waldron is a big part of this, but it's a poorly coached team that is like legitimately going through a mutiny. Like if you listen to any kind of obviously I don't listen to this, but I have some guys in my Discord and stuff are like Chicago local people, and they're like the sports talk radio and like what the players are saying, it's never been more mutinous. Like they hate Eberflus, they really hate Shane Waldron. I mean, Shane Waldron, to win the game, calls a play to hand the ball off to the backup center, who, by the way, had been injured. Like, basically, they're just addicted to the fancy play. And this is another big thing. That usage for Marvin Harrison Jr. last week, if you go look up his next-gen stats route chart, look at his next-gen stats route chart from last week versus every other week. They finally were like, well, let's just see if he can play like a real wide receiver. Let's run some drags. Let's run some slants.
What did you hear the report?
No,
So apparently last week, Kyler went to Marvin Harrison and like they did like a film session together, and they kind of like brainstormed on the things that Marv wanted to do like things that Marvin Harrison wanted to do. And there was a big change in his usage last week. Last week, only 16.5% of his routes were go routes. It was his lowest rate in a game this season. 43% of his targets were on crossing routes. So it was by far a season high. From weeks to 7, only 16% of his routes, targets came on crossers. He also ran a season high 15 routes between the numbers, and he had a season high 32% slot rate. So hopefully they can keep some of that stuff up. But there was a report during the broadcast that kind of went overlooked, but that Kyler and him, like, they got together and like talked about things Marvin Harrison wanted to do, which is different because remember early in the season, I think it was week 2.
Kyler said, "That's not my job."
Kyler was like, "That's not my job."
Maybe it is your job. Maybe that is your job, Kyler. Maybe as a matter of fact, it actually is your job to help your what was he, the 4th overall pick in the NFL draft? Maybe it is your job to help him become a better player.
They did. Apparently they got together. Maybe they fired up some Call of Duty. I mean, we'll roll. Keep rolling the COD jokes, the COD jokes, as long as we can.
Has Kyler been streaming? We need to know. Has Kyler been? What are Kyler's hours like? Does anyone have his gamer
voice least fit their like physical profile than Kyler's? Like when you hear Kyler talk.
No, it's deep. You do not expect it. You think he's gonna sound like me. You think he's gonna kind of have Mahomes. Like a raspy.
Like, he should talk like Mahomes.
Yeah, no, they should kind of switch, especially because Pat is fat now. Pat probably weighs. Pat, I would guess he's 28 years old. I'm gonna guess he weighs 20 pounds more than whatever he weighed in at the combine, which is very funny. So that's my number 5.
He had a kid. He got married and had a kid, man. Like that happens,
2 kids.
Man.
Yeah, 2 kids.
All
right,
put on weight when I had my kids, man.
For sure. That was my number 5. What is your number 4?
All right, let's get back to talking about some favorites here. I've got the Washington Commanders at 4. This is another one where I just feel like the Giants are just trending so bad. First of all,
bad.
The Giants have had 44 possessions at home this season. Guess how many touchdowns they've scored?
2.
1.
Was it Tyrone Tracy? Was he the only one?
I have to go back and think about who scored the touchdown for them at home this year. Was it Tracy? I don't even know if it was.
I want to say it was Tracy, but obviously it could have been Nate. Oh, maybe it was Wandale's touchdown. I don't know. I think he only has 1.
They've scored one of 44 drives. These teams played in week 2, and the Commanders didn't punt or have a turnover in that game. They just stalled out in the red zone and kept kicking a bunch of field goals, but they probably should have won that game by a few more points. The Giants also had Graham Gano he had hurt his hamstring. That was when he got hurt, and they didn't have a kicker either in that game. They had to go for 2 a bunch of times, but definitely these are 2 teams I think are going in 2 different directions. Like the Commanders just have the sauce, right? Like you see, like they
have the sauce.
Like it's Jaden Daniels, man, just the rule of cool, right? Like, but and then this Daniel Jones experiment, like we're done, right? Like they might not pull him this season because it's just Drew Lock as an alternative, but
they are pulling him this season because his contract becomes extra guaranteed if he gets injured.
Oh, so we're gonna do the Russell Wilson thing from last year.
It's the literal exact same thing. He's got a $23 million injury guarantee, but if he doesn't get injured, then they can get out of his contract for $22 million. But they can cut him after this year.
I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks, though. The Commanders' defense has been getting a ton. They've been getting a ton of pressure. They actually they led the NFL in pressure rate last week. They're the last month they're 4th in the NFL in pressure rate. Since Daniel Jones lost Andrew Thomas, I mean, we saw he has 72 dropbacks now with Andrew Thomas on the field. He's been pressured on 53% of those dropbacks. He's only throwing for 4.8 yards per pass attempt when pressured this season. So I expect the Commanders to keep getting pressure in this game. Jaden Daniels, I don't see him really getting slowed down by this Giants defense. Like I said, they didn't even punt. And remember, when these teams played in week 2, that was also the Cliff Kingsbury game where he came out afterwards and talked about using Terry McLaurin differently, because Terry McLaurin only had 22 yards in that game. He had a season low 3.9 yard ADOT in that game. And since then, Terry McLaurin is number 1 in the NFL in depth of target for players as many targets as him. Giants on throws 20 yards or further to wide receivers have allowed a 73% catch rate. The NFL average is 35%. They did bench Deonte Banks this week, but Deonte Banks is playing over someone, so we'll see.
Right.
Anytime you hear about those things, it's like, well, he was starting over someone, so we'll see. But I mean, I just think the Commanders are going to be able to move the football. I think they're going to get pressure on Daniel Jones, so it's going that way.
Yeah. So this was my number 3. The Commanders were my number 3 on the road against the Giants because, basically my deal for as long as you and I have been doing this is good offense going to beat a good defense. And now that scoring is back up, that's even doubly true. I feel like we really are having the anchoring effect of, the beginning of the season was so bad. But if you cut out those first 2 weeks of the season when basically no team was ready to play, this was in Stealing Signals, Ben Gretch's newsletter the other day, we're at I believe 23.6 points per game for team, or points per team, not per game. So per team, which is it's a point less than it was during the COVID season, but that was back up in the 2015, 2016 range of offense. So yeah, I'm betting on the good offenses. And I was a little bit worried about Daniel's effectiveness playing with the rib injury, but he looked fine. I mean, he drove the ball fine. He was scrambling fine. And now he's had another week to recover. He was playing with a big like a flak jacket on. Basically, they were taping his ribs up and he was still moving fine. Although, I mean, it could happen at any time. Jane Daniels is going to miss 2 or 3 games every year with injury in his career. He's just so slight, He's just a slight little guy. He's going to get, and he loves to get tackled. The guy loves to get tackled.
That's it. That's all I got.
All right. There we go. My number 4, it's my number 4 because it is an absolutely, it's almost too many points. The Cincinnati Bengals -7 points at home to the Las Vegas Raiders. So Reeves, you were all over this last week, but the Raiders are just not playing competent anything. They are on offense 5.4 net adjusted yards per attempt with 8 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. So that's the quarterbacks combined. That is 25th in the league. They are the worst EPA per rush team since EPA started getting tracked. The worst ever EPA per, and you might think, oh, well, then that means that they probably are passing more. Nope. Down 10 points against the Chiefs. Just keep running the ball. There was a series in that game last week. I mean, how many expected points does Antonio Pierce give up every single week?
This is Mike Singletary all over again.
He's one of the worst coaches I've ever seen. Urban Meyer, basically the worst coach of my lifetime. You at least get what is Urban Meyer bringing to the table? Well, he's Urban Meyer. He won all these championships. Sure, great college coach. I get it. What is Antonio Pierce bringing to the table? Who wants Antonio Pierce? Why is Antonio Pierce the coach of the Las Vegas Raiders? He's not adding anything. Getsy is terrible. Minshew is terrible. The team has 2 good players. The team has Max Crosby and Brock, and I guess Kobe Myers is all right. Now, the Bengals have really struggled without T. Higgins, but does it even matter? Does not having T. Higgins matter here? The Bengals get to 24 points. That is probably good to cover this spread, given how ineffective the Raiders offense is. So I got the Cincinnati Bengals as my number 4.
Yeah, I don't have many thoughts about this. Just the potential backdoor if T. Higgins doesn't play, just because the Bengals have been pretty lackluster without T. Higgins. Just a lot of the bummer is when they have the T. Higgins, they use Jamar Chase better. But all the games T. Higgins has missed, Jamar Chase is just a low ADOT merchant. It's just
it's because Zach Taylor is also so bad at his job. Jamar Chase leads the NFL in percentage of his routes where he's double covered, and Zach Taylor basically goes, yeah, that's fine. Motion, play action, we don't need any of that. It's fine. So he's Zach Taylor is a bit of a bum.
That's all it was. I didn't have it on mine. I mean, I'm fine betting against Antonio Pierce. I love Antonio Pierce because he overreacts to everything too. So you can tell he has no idea what he's doing, right? And just who could have seen this coming, right? Hiring a defensive head coach with that they beat a bunch of terrible quarterbacks last year, except for the Mahomes game where they didn't even complete a pass the final 3 quarters.
Windhorst. Maybe Mahomes is one of those terrible.
And then they hired Telesco, who literally did one of the worst GM jobs like the last 4 years in LA. They hire Lou Getsky to call plays. It's like, what are like who could have seen this? Like how did we not? Like, it's like, what are we doing, man? It's just gross. It's a gross organization right now. I'm sorry if you're a Raiders fan.
Pretty brutal. All right, there we go. That was my number 4. We did my number 3. My number 3 was the Washington Commanders. Reeves, it's all on you. What's your number 3?
I got the Rams here, and it's the same reason we bet against the Seahawks last week. I mean, if DK Metcalf is not healthy or is going to be limited in any capacity, this team has
It's like the worst offense in football.
This team has one explosive playmaker, and it's Kenneth Walker. And if it's your running, and they can't run. So, like, this is like one of the other worst rushing teams in the NFL right now, too. Geno Smith without DK Metcalf last week averaged 2.9 air yards per pass attempt, the fewest for a quarterback in a game this season. They can't pass protect. There's a few things why I think this matchup is bad for them. Well, let's just lean into that. So they can't pass protect. The Rams are another team that have really come on in pass rush. They're now 5th in the NFL in pressure rate. Jared Verse is only behind Aiden Hutchinson in pressure rate among all pass rushers. They have 100 or more pass rushes on the season. Byron Young is 17. They're the only team in the with 2 guys in the top 20. And like I said, Geno has been really bad when he's been pressured. He's 29th in the league in rating under pressure, only 5.8 yards per pass attempt, 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And then also the Rams getting Puka Nacua back and Cooper Kupp back has been massive. If you go back to last year, anytime the Rams have had all 3 of Kyren Williams, Puka, and Cooper Kupp on the field, they're number 1 in the NFL in yards per play. And this Seattle defense, I think, has been one of the more disappointing units from a talent perspective. And they've had some guys banged up the last month. But when you think about the players they have, though, and what we're getting out of this defense, I think it is one of the worst defensive units, like from an expectation stance. I mean, they lost a home game to Daniel Jones, like without Malik Neighbors a few weeks ago. The last month, Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, and Josh Allen have just blitzkrieged them. So all of those things put together, I just got the Rams here.
So this is why I don't have the Rams. I don't think Puka's gonna play. So if Puka doesn't play, then you're Kyren Williams and ancient Cooper Kupp. And I mean, I think you're probably on the right side. Something
right now, just to
go ahead.
Cut you off. 15 minutes ago, report Puka full go at practice today.
Wow. Okay, that's huge. Now I've been drafting a lot of these battle royales on Underdog, where I haven't been taking Puka Nacua, so I need to get back on the app and start drafting right now. Yeah, your side is right. This is the best. This is the best side of the week. I'm not going to add it to my list retroactively, but yeah, your side is definitely correct. You want the Los Angeles Rams in the spot. More so than that, you're watching the Seahawks. Like I watched that game because the Bills were my number 1 play last week. I was pretty locked in. And it was more like, what do I even expect to have happen without Metcalf out here? Like if I was a Seahawks fan, if I did have the Seahawks side, what would I be wanting to have happen? And what you would want to have happen, I guess, would be for JSN to turn into a good player overnight, or for Kenneth Walker to rip off a 65-yard run. And I've mostly been pro Geno, but asking Geno to make it happen with Noah Fant and Jake Bobo doesn't feel particularly fair.
No. And listen, JSN, is it over?
Well, I mean, over. He's going to be...
True.
He's going to be... You know who he is? You know who the comp for... He's Tyler Boyd. He's going to stick around. He's going to have a lot of 800-yard, 4-touchdown seasons. And eventually, 5 years from now, it'll turn back around to being like, you know who's actually pretty good? You know who's a competent professional wide receiver? Jackson Smith and Jigba. A team with a rookie quarterback, some freshman right now who we don't even know him. He'd be like, you know who the Cleveland Browns should sign? They should sign Jackson Smith and Jigba. You just need a competent professional wide receiver to play with your young quarterback. That is who JSN is. Sad. All right, Mr. Hribar. That was your number 3. We did my number 3. What is your number 2?
My number 2 is the New Orleans Saints. And listen,
Talk me into it. I want this to be right. You got to talk me into it.
We have a finite number of times as gamblers
to go against Bryce
Young.
To
bet against Bryce Young. Bryce Young is 2-17 in his career. 13 of those losses have been by 7 or more points. Carolina's losses this year, whether it's been Bryce Young or Andy Dalton, have been by 37, 23, 10, 26, 18, 33, and 14 points. Man. I mean, this is it. Like, we're running out of times to bet against Bryce Young in our lives as gamblers. And I don't want to waste any more of those times. I want to enjoy every one of them while I can.
I guess that we are going to get Derek Carr for the New Orleans Saints. It's not going to be Jake Haener.
And Cesar Ruiz came back last week. Yes, I mean,
I was just curious. I was just curious. I just wanted to pull up what Bryce Young's best career game is. I have absolutely no memory of this game. The Green Bay Packers against the Carolina Panthers. Yeah. I have no memory of this game. Bryce Young goes 23 of 36 for 312 yards, 2 touchdowns. DJ Shark goes 6 for 98 and 2. Thielen 6 for 94. What was Jordan Love doing in this game? What the hell happened? Unbelievable.
I'm trying to think of someone weird score a touchdown that game too. I can't remember, but yeah, that game was a shootout though.
Well, that was one of Dontavian Wicks's first breakout games. I think he scored a touchdown there. Dobbs did. Aaron Jones had 21 rushes. What a bizarre game. I have absolutely no recollection of that. Yeah, so they get Carr back. The concern I have, well, except maybe this isn't a real concern, is that after those first 2 games of the season, the Saints absolutely shut it down. They, it's like, oh, Clint Kubiak is gonna be the head. He's the new Shanahan tree guy.
Everyone got hurt. And we're not going to probably get the first 2 weeks back of the Saints. I don't think expecting that is reasonable. And I don't think ever probably expecting that to continue is reasonable. But everyone got hurt, and they're getting guys back now. And obviously, they don't have Shaheed, but getting Cesar Ruiz is back, getting back is massive. I mean, you look at Alvin Kamara splits when Ruiz has played this year. 71 rushes, 5 yards per carry, an explosive run, 14% of his runs. Like, Kamara looked fine last week. Like, he was good.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just going to pump Olave and Kamara the football. Like, that's the one good thing about this. Like, Kubiak's just going to get those guys the ball. And then when Derek Carr hasn't been pressured this year, he's been like awesome. Even after the first 2 games, like you go back to the Atlanta game, like they moved the ball fine against Atlanta. They probably should have beat the Falcons. They gave up a block punt for a touchdown and an interception return on a tip pass for a touchdown in that game. So I mean, listen, I just don't know how many more times we're going to be able to bet against Bryce Young, and I want to enjoy those. I'm just doing it.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not gonna sell you wrong. All right, Reeves, you're probably gonna hate this one too, but my number 2 is the New England Patriots plus 3 points on the road at the Tennessee Titans. First off, I'm expecting Drake May to play. Gerard Mayo had a press conference this morning. He said May's in the second stage of the protocol. He's gotten in a limited practice. He is going to start if he's active, if he's good to go. I don't really care about the Titans' defensive quality. I think the Titans are the other than the Panthers, they are the worst team in football. They are the no hope, no jobs, no cash team. There's just no point. There's no point to the Titans. There's no point in Rudolph playing. There's no point in Levis playing. The only thing that I enjoy about this team is that Tony Pollard looks like Tony Pollard. Now, obviously, the joyless thing about that is imagine if we got real non-injured Tony Pollard on a competent team. Like, what if the Chicago Bears actually had signed Tony Pollard in free agency? What if the Chargers, oh my God, imagine if the Chargers had signed Tony Pollard in free agency instead of J.K. Dobbins. The Patriots have a good defense, as we expected, and it seems like Gerard Mayo is a pretty good defensive coach. I think he's probably not a good NFL coach. Not super stoked on Alex Van Pelt. But basically, Ramondre plus May and like competence is enough. I think the Titans are just brutal. I think they are just brutal. And yeah, how many more times are we going to have the bet against Will? I don't even know who's starting in this game. I don't even think it matters. But I have the New England Patriots plus 3 points as my number 2.
I like Drake May. I hope it works out. Hopefully he's fine. It's funny how quarterbacks seem to clear concussion protocol quicker than every other position.
Yeah, that's a real wind horse situation. Why is that? Why did Brock Purdy clear protocol so easy?
Yeah, remember? Purdy had a concussion on a Monday night last year and played the following week. Do you remember that?
Yes, yeah, and he had it the year before too. Yeah, I view the Raiders. The Raiders actually have better players than the Titans. That's the thing.
I will say this: the Titans' defense is probably legitimately like above average.
Yes, they are. Yeah, they are. But the offense is so below. It's actually the same problem that we saw with the Browns this year, which is like I think the Browns defense is probably better than league average, but
and
the
when your offense is that bad,
is that bad, and you're just playing downhill. It's like these guys get tired. Like the offense goes 3 and out. Your quarterback is turning the ball over left, right, and center. You have no shot.
In this era of the NFL, even with scoring being down, like a great defense can still only do so much. Like over the course, like if you're with an anemic offense, to like the levels of where the Titans are and where the Browns were at Deshaun Watson, it's just like really hard to win games that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
the Giants are finding that out a little bit too.
Dude, that's so true. Mason Rudolph, I was like, someone's going to win $1 million with Mason Rudolph in that first quarter.
Yeah, we were texting about it.
Lions. Yeah. Oh,
see the rushing touchdown through a ton. He was cooking. It's funny you couldn't use all that garbage time to get anything out in the second half.
Well, that's the thing. When you're really that garbage, like when you're that garbage, it's like even garbage time doesn't help. Like the Drake May thing, though, I think Drake May, like I was very high on him. I actually might have been too low on him, weirdly, because he's doing this with like awful offensive line, Demario Douglas as his wide receiver 1. Like imagine that guy in a competition, and weirdly, he's actually much better set up to perform in this circumstance because his college teammates were shit too. You know, he's kind of used to just being like, well, bad offensive line, no one can get open. I'm just gonna make that rushing touchdown. That was a pretty nice rushing touchdown. I feel justified in my Drake May bullishness, Rich.
Yeah, I mean, look at just the splits with him and Brissett. I mean, it's just been so much. The offense has been so much more competent, and I hate that just to dunk on Brissett. He's like a guy just put in an impossible spot, but like,
yeah. All right, Reeves. There's my number 2. I'm almost certain we're not going to have the same number 1, but maybe,
I don't think this year we have not very often had overlapping ones.
No, we haven't. All right, Reeves, it's on you. What's your number 1? Let's see. Maybe we get on the same page this week.
Probably not. I have the Lions number 1.
I do not have the Lions number 1. I don't have the Lions number 1 because now if I thought it was Malik Willis, sure. But I just when it's shit, maybe you are just right.
I mean, you're not getting Love, even if Love is playing, it's not 100% Jordan Love. So
correct, yeah, and he did not look great last week. All right, give me your Lions spiel.
I mean, this isn't even 3 points. You can get this at 2.5, like not even a key number. Like
yeah, look, it is 2.5 at Circa, 2.5 at DK, 2.5 at FanDuel. Let's see, you can get a -3 plus 100 at Bet Online, which is probably a better. I think the people would say that's a better bet. I mean, yeah, it's not even a full 3.
And I think right now, from like who's playing, so I think like obviously like someone has to beat the Chiefs. Like the Chiefs are still the best team in football, but I think the team playing the best all around football.
The Chiefs are not the best team in football.
Right.
They might.
But they like hold number 1 because like someone has to beat the Chiefs, right? Like but the Lions are playing the best all around football in the NFL, like on all facets.
No
Special
doubt,
teams, defense, offense. Like they're like just nobody's playing better football than them. Ben Johnson's in his absolute bag. He's also turning into like what the Chiefs and Andy Reid did. Like he's just fucking around. Like every time they get, he's like, I'm just gonna like, we'll just. Who wants to score a touchdown this week? Who wants me to call a play for them? Like what linemen?
Six targets for Laporta last week after 3 targets.
Does Brock Wright want a touchdown this week? Like what does Tim Patrick gonna score? Like dude, they're just doing whatever they want. And a lot of slappies will be like, oh, Jared Goff's going to go on the road. They won 34-20 in Green Bay last year. So listen, I'm just going to keep betting on the Lions. If you just bet on the Lions since Dan Campbell's been a head coach, like you're rich. Like you're just rich. So I love head coaches. I was putting my money into hands, the opposite of taking the Rams, by the way, a couple picks ago, is that Dan Campbell's always going to do the optimal thing for you, for your money. He's going to try to win you the football game. And nothing feels better than having money on those types of guys. And if we do get Malik Willis, they're not going to LaFleur's not going to be able to just like hide Malik Willis. Like this is going to be a game where they have to throw regardless, even when Malik Willis plays. So I kind of want to see what happens in that environment if we do see Malik Willis play. But Love's not going to be 100%. So listen, I'm going to keep betting on the Lions. Maybe I'm just going to be a slappy. There's no really like great analysis beyond that. I'm just going to keep putting my money in Dan Campbell's hands.
No, I like that analysis. I like that sort of sports betting analysis so much more than like making up a reason to be in on him. Other than like the other thing is some teams get so goddamn precious with a lead, and the Lions do not do that. You like anytime you're betting on a team as a favorite, you want them. Like the thing I always think of is if you're up 10 points and you're heading into the fourth quarter, either your last possession of the third quarter, first possession of the fourth quarter.
Every 49ers game.
What does your coach want to do? Well, Kyle Shanahan wants to kick a field goal. Kyle Shanahan wants to kick a field goal, get that to be a 10-point game to a 13-point game. What does Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell want to do? They want David Montgomery to throw a touchdown to Khalif Raymond because it's fun. So I was
really genuinely kind of concerned last year. I thought the internet might have canceled Dan Campbell or tried to because of the way they lost that 49ers game.
Oh yeah.
Because they tried to remember they signed Jake Bates, who like kicks all these long ass field goals, and it was like, damn it, are they going to start like just kicking field goals now? No, man, we're so good. Our boys held on. He didn't get Ben Staley or Brian. So
he's got one more year. If they lose a playoff game and in a fourth quarter, a fourth down call, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. All right,
hang on strong, Dan.
Yeah, hang on strong. All right, Reeves. I got a giga nuclear take here. I predict not only will you not like this one, you probably would take the other side. I am taking the Cleveland Football Browns at home as money line underdogs to Los Angeles Chargers. Now, you might say Davis, but the Chargers, they're figuring out the defense is good. They are second in the NFL in pass rate over expectation since the bye week. Justin Herbert, Ladd McConkey. So the first thing is the Chargers run game is actually pretty poor, which I think is interesting. That would not have been what we would have thought heading into the year. The J.K. Dobbins magic sauce seems to be wearing off a little bit. They either need to start playing Kamani Vidal more, or I guess they could lean more into the terrible. Yeah. They could lean more into the passing game. But it's like, okay, we're going to lean more into the passing game with Quentin Johnson and Jalen Reagor and Will Disley. Probably not. And this isn't even about
is the answer we've been waiting for.
I'm actually not trying to get short on Harbaugh or Roman or Herbert here, although historically those have been positions that have played pretty well. It's actually more about we're getting to see the Browns team that should have existed the whole time, which is this really awesome defense, getting to play downhill, handing the ball off to Nick Chubb, and then a quarterback who can actually complete throws further than 10 yards down the field. That the third down throw that Jameis made to Njoku in that window was so small, and Njoku lays out to get it. I'm like, that is what the team should have looked like the entire time. Cedric Tillman plays very well. Elijah Moore plays very well as a slot wide receiver. Like I think this is your classic wrong team favored. I think this is your classic wrong team favorite. I think that I think this is a great spot for the Cleveland Browns against the Los Angeles Chargers. And, Jameis obviously is better for fantasy than he is for real life, but he can also like spin it. He's kind of like Flacco. Like he now he's the veteran journeyman who can come in and keep your offense on schedule, but turn the ball over and take too many sacks. But I'm on the Cleveland Browns here as money line underdogs.
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch this game or bet on it. It just like it's not gonna exist. No, no, I will watch it.
You're not gonna watch this game?
I'm gonna watch it. Yeah. No, there's some fun DFS pieces in here for potential cheapies too. In this game, I think this game probably goes over.
Yes, exactly.
At, like, the total being too low. Here are the quarterbacks the Chargers have faced so far. Gardner Minshew,
murderers row.
Gardner Minshew, Bryce Young, Justin Fields, Patrick Mahomes, Bo Nix, Kyler Murray, Spencer Rattler. Those are the starting quarterbacks they faced. So I think it's hard to stock anything the Chargers have done defensively, metric wise. When you're looking at like who they've limited. Also, they, like you said, they're throwing more, so I think they're going to have to throw here. This run game is bad. And then with Jameis kind of being involved too, like there's a chance for more points. He did have the most turnover-worthy throws in the NFL. Like peak Jameis last week. Just Kyle Hamilton didn't catch that last one. The Ravens didn't catch any of them.
Yep. Yeah, he tried to lose that game. He tried to lose that game. I in no way am I stating that this is about like, oh, I'm the
I'm not. I just don't think it's from a bet. I don't know what's real though is for like either of these teams. Like I don't know what's really real for the Chargers at this point. Because like you said, look at all the quarterbacks they faced. Jameis still probably isn't like this. I'm not ready to consider him just like Flacco 2.0 quite yet. The Ravens were missing their two starting cornerbacks too. He probably did try to lose them the game a little bit. But it's definitely the bar from where we were with Deshaun Watson, which was underground, like a subterranean level offense. Like we're
subterranean level.
Like we're at least competent. So
and at the end of the day, even if I'm on the wrong side and actually it turns out the Chargers were the right side, I could get bailed out by Nick Chubb. That's I am liking
maybe,
it. I could get bailed out by it.
I do like if you were betting just this, like, because the total's so low, the over is in play. Like this could be like a 24-23 type of game or something like that for sure. So, but definitely, it's just two teams that I really don't know what's real like about either of these teams.
I do like. I mean, I like Tillman. I like Moore. I like Njoku. Like I like Ladd. I enjoy these guys for DFS. DFS is a little bit tougher this week. We had all the cheapies last week, the Tampa Bay guys, the Browns guys. What are your big DFS thoughts this week, Rich?
Yeah, pricing's a little tighter this week, but man, it's another. We only have two teams on bye, so it's another pretty jammed up slate. No international games, so it is I think it's a 13 gamer, right? The main slate. There's a lot of plays that are still really good. We talked about that Saints Panthers game has a couple guys that are cheap. I think you can even build a pretty easy core with Olave or Kamara. You can play like Coker coming back.
Yeah, Coker. Someone asked a question. Someone asked a question about Coker. What's this Holy Cross Coker about? I mean, kind of an interesting prospect, man. Kind of an interesting prospect.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously played at Holy Cross, but he was third amongst all wide receivers in yards per route run. He is a big body. He's not like a super fast guy, but he was explosive, and he's like a 90th percentile explosion score guy in the jumping drills. He was good. He was really good in the preseason. He's earned playing time. I think that was part of the reason why they were willing to let Deontay Johnson go outside of whatever is going behind the scenes, behind closed doors there too. I think they're just really ready to start playing some of these young guys. Hopefully they move Adam Thielen too before next week. The trade deadline, and we just let
where's Thielen go? Who needs Thielen? The Dolphins could maybe.
I mean, I don't think anyone needs Thielen. It's just where can he go contribute? Probably a couple places, right?
The Patriots. You know what? Adam Thielen, greatfitpatriots.com. Adam Thielen would be a great Patriot. I want to ask you about the Tyreek Hill and Devin Achane because we have not touched on this game. The Dolphins at the Bills. My instinct is that
I almost put the Bills on my card.
6 is a big number, but you're not wrong.
I mean, McDermott is just owned to
So that was my question. Is Tyreek only got a $300 bump? Achane got a $500 bump on DraftKings. $6,700, I believe, for Achane. $7,300 for Tyreek. I mean, specifically Achane, my thought is I want to go back all in on that guy. But I guess it is not nearly as good of a matchup. What do you think about those two guys specifically?
I'm still gonna make a lineup around that game in small field single entry, like probably like a sub 1K entrance. Those are like typically like the games where I just try to get the game right.
Yeah.
Just because the ownership, like Achan's the only one in that game tracking for any type of ownership right now. And while the history has been really poor for Tyreek because Tua has been so bad in this matchup, still a 5% Tyreek Hill and like a 5% Josh Allen. I kind of want to throw those guys in a lineup while we're with a 49-point game total, right? Like I get there's paths to failure, but that's why I say like these it's something small, like maybe sub 1K, sub 5K entrance, single entry. You make an onslaught that game. Because even James Cook's, I think, in a good spot in this game. And you can build a lineup. On DraftKings, you can play Achane, Cook, Tyreek Hill, and Josh Allen. I just did it. And you can still play Alvin Kamara, Coker, Cedric Tillman. Like that's pretty decent lineup if you can get there, if you get that game right. And it is like where Tyreek catches a long touchdown and does something that we haven't seen yet this year, at least since week 1.
Bills do give up a lot of explosive plays to running backs. Liam was telling me that.
Achan is the only guy tracking for ownership though in that game.
Yeah.
So I do, like I said, I do want to build at least one.
Well, he is the running back 1 in points per game in games that Tua has played. He's got a 21% target share in Tua games. So pretty good. All right, Reeves, our weekly. We did not do well last week. We did not do well.
I'm blaming you.
It probably was. I mean, I'm not going to go back and look. I'm not going to go back and look, but I didn't have a very good pick 'em week in general, so it probably was me.
I had a good props week, so I'm blaming you.
Okay, all right. Then it was definitely my fault. All right, Mr. Hribar, I will give you the first pick. We will do our Week 9 Underdog NFL pick'em entry.
All right, let's start with the Davis Mattek guy.
Okay.
What about Chase Brown? What are we looking at for Chase Brown?
Oh my God, Reeves. I don't know how we got this far in the show without mentioning that this is actually finally the Chase Brown game.
He's at over 70% of the runs the last 2 games, and we get him at a 7-point home favorite. Like if this isn't the week,
isn't the
week.
Yeah. In a league that you and I are in together, Zach Moss got dropped. In the Roto World League, Zach Moss got dropped. All right, what do you like? Do you like touchdowns?
I like
yards?
longest run or the yards, whichever one you want.
Do you want to scale? Okay, I am going to do this. I'm going to scale it up to 59 app. You could do this on desktop now. You could do this on desktop now. You can do
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can do the slider. All right.
I've already, so just so you know, to come along and commiserate, we can all commiserate together or make some money together. I've already laddered Chase Brown's yardage all the way to 90 yards this week.
All right. Well, you sold me.
Well, you just, for this, we need to get 8 picks right. So you got to go low here. Like this is like
I think I literally just went away. Either I did something wrong. No, okay, it didn't. All right. Chase Brown higher, 59.5. Beautiful.
To 60.
Yeah. He just got
so. If there isn't the week, he's a 7-point home favorite. He's been getting all the rushing work. If this isn't the week.
If it's not the week, if it's not the week, something will have gone terribly wrong. All right. Do we want to? What do you like on Kamara? We are big on
everything.
Yeah.
Probably it's going to be high. The numbers are going to be high.
104.5 combo yards. That is a lot of yards. I might like rushing attempts the most.
What's funny is we had Javonte Williams on our card last week, and we talked ourselves out of. We took the attempts, and we got there. It was the only thing that got there for him.
It was the only thing that got there. Yeah. It would be very funny. I mean, I hate the Cincinnati Bengals, so I actually would be.
It would be peak. Marvin Lewis might have lost this game. Well, maybe Zach Taylor is just new Marvin Lewis.
Zach Taylor might just be new All right. Alvin Kamara, higher rushing attempts. Easy peasy. We also, Reeves, we did not talk about Dallas and Atlanta.
Also, remember to play on that if you are betting Kamara attempts. We might not get Kendre Miller in that game, who had a hamstring injury.
I would bet we don't. I would bet we are not getting Kendre Miller, but Taysom is going to be there.
God damn it.
Say some of us have reasons to need
I know.
Taysom.
Daigle brings up Taysom on the Wednesday DFS show every week, and he's gonna be right eventually.
3,800 this week on DraftKings at tight end. All right, we got to take something from Dallas and Atlanta. This is the fantasy bonanza game of the week. Reeves, we could do anything you want here. CD, anything.
CD or Bijan are the dudes in this game.
Do you want CD touchdown, rushing, receiving yards, receptions? Do you want?
Dude, Jesus, 8 catches, cooking, man, Jesus.
What about 15.5 longest rush?
Yeah, I mean, I think I like longest run there for Bijan.
All right,
Mr.
Beige.
My son ordered some of his mustard too, by the way.
Wow. All right, there we go. Bijan's Dijon. All right, let's take 48.5 rushing yards for Devin A-Chain feels very low.
What's his receiving yards this week?
It's going to be high. They've learned 35. Dude,
we hammered it. Oh my god, yeah. Dude! So on our site we did our largest unit bet last week on the site was A-Chan's receiving yards. I know we took it on our thing too, our card.
We sure did.
My goodness, what a gift! And I brought this up, but running back longest rush and running back receiving props I think are some of the most mispriced prop lines in an era where books are setting things sharply.
Are so good, yeah.
Those two are markets I think are really exploitable.
All right, well, let's do A-Chan longest rush then, 14.5 yards.
Big play guy.
Big play guy. He beat that last week. All right. Do we want okay. Who is your preferred guy out of Njoku, Tillman, or Elijah Moore for 47.5 yards for Tillman? 3.5 receptions for Elijah Moore. Feels pretty good. Do you have a favorite there against the Chargers?
I mean, Chargers are one of the most zone-heavy teams in the NFL, which has favored Tillman. The sample sizes are so small.
That feels like Elijah Moore to me. Zone beater, crossers.
I mean, like I say, it's hard to really take anything the Chargers have done very serious given their quarterbacks. But I mean, that was fine. Chargers, yeah.
Well, it's too late. I already added it, and I can't possibly.
What'd you do, Elijah Moore?
40.5 receiving yards for 12 targets last week for Elijah Moore.
What do we got for Josh Downs? What's Josh Downs cooking?
Oh, whatever it is, it's too low. You could talk me into any of these. Touchdown, receptions, receiving yards, longest reception. You take your pick. I'm on board with any of them.
Yeah, I think this is the yardage one.
Josh Downs is going to have 100 yards this week, but I'm going to take 59.5.
He is on. FanDuel was actually on, and I was pretty bummed. The first thing I did was check because that game, Sunday night's always on the main slate. And he's 6,900 over there. I was really hoping he was cheaper.
All right, can I convince you to ladder up Justin Jefferson to 100 yards to 99.5? I mean, if he doesn't get 100 yards against the Colts, what are we even doing with him?
What is it? I mean, Darnold is probably good in that game.
251.5.
What's his touchdowns? 2 passing touchdowns?
Yeah, 0.93x, so small decrease.
Yeah, I mean he's absolutely shredded cover 3 and cover 2 this year, which is all Gus Bradley runs.
All right, I'm commandeering this, and we're taking Justin Jefferson. We're laddering up to 99.5. And now we have one final selection to make. Reeves, you can have any player you'd like in the entirety of the field.
Last week I used this spot to do the DeAndre Swift stuff, so we got to do a good one.
Yeah, it's true. You can't let the people down. We don't have anyone taken. We have no Chief yet. We have no Ram or Seahawk. We have no Lion or Packer. No Eagle, no Jaguar, and nothing from Bears, Cardinals.
I'm looking at my tournament play right up and seeing what we got. I mean, I still, man, it's another spot for AJ Brown still too.
Every week is an AJ Brown spot.
Every week, it's just him or McLaurin are the two other guys that kind of stand out for either like a longest reception or yards or something.
26.5 feels pretty big for it. I mean,
he's got 80 plus receiving yards in every game. He's going against another man coverage team.
Bang.
I mean,
bang. All right, there we go, everyone. Okay, I got to refresh. This one I'm feeling.
Yeah, look, you got location here again.
I get you. So what you have to do is you have to re-enter. Don't refresh. Literally retype it into your bar.
I can't do the pick'ems, the prize picks of underdogs where I'm at.
Oh, that's crazy.
I mean, honestly, it's a blessing in disguise. I don't want to. Yeah, I can't be.
No, honestly, yeah. You like. I spend my whole week thinking about this. Historical anomalies. If you want the Stone Cold lock of the century prop, you're gonna have to tune in to the next program that is going to begin in 5 minutes. Nez from the Badge Bros is going to join me. We're going to do the unabated Pick'em Tools show.
I'll give you something that is, if you are better. I've literally since last season, Jahmyr Gibbs' longest rush has hit 92% of the time.
I mean, that is literally free money. That is quite literally free money. All right, Reeves.
The first thing I do every week is bet Jahmyr Gibbs' longest rush.
Free. 92% of the time, it works every time, folks.
This week it opened at 15.5. So I don't know if it's gone up since I bet it. It was 15.5 when it opened. But
I'll tell you right now,
Jahmyr Gibbs' longest rush has been like the most profitable individual, most consistent bet you could make since the start of last year.
It's 16.5 on Underdog right now.
I mean, the first thing I do every week when the lines go up is go bet Jahmyr Gibbs' longest rush.
Incredible. All right, Reeves, you're going to go do the show with High Low right now. I'm about to end this stream, go get a cup of coffee, and then we are beginning the pure Pick'em show with Nez. Everyone stick around. Make sure that you're watching Reeves' show as well. You can watch that on demand over on the 1 Week Season YouTube channel, and we will be back next week. Good luck, everybody. It's Short King Summer, dude. It just feels like no one in fantasy sports ever learns anything. Does he mistime it, or is Brock Bowers just a grown man? Brock Bowers is just a grown man. Dare I say, Rich, football might be back. In the words of Lane Johnson, this offense looks constipated.